I caught my stepfather emotionally seducing my sister, but when I exposed him, he turned the entire family against us. Reddit stories. He played the grieving mentor while whispering poison into her confidence, twisting every line of trust until she couldn't tell care from control. And when I confronted him, he weaponized guilt, fear, and family loyalty like he'd been preparing for this moment for years. Hi, I'm Lucas, 24, and 3 months ago I watched my family split apart like a rotten tree hit by lightning, all because my stepfather, a man we trusted, managed to emotionally seduce my 18-year-old sister right under our roof while the rest of us were too blind or too comfortable to see what was happening. If someone had told me last year that my stepdad Mark was capable of manipulating my sister Emma, I would have laughed. Mark was the stable one, the reliable 40-something guy who grilled steaks every Sunday, paid bills on time, and talked like he read one self-help book and turned it into a personality. My mom adored him. Emma tolerated him. I ignored him. Or, I used to. Things started shifting around Emma's 18th birthday. She'd always been bright, sarcastic, fiercely independent, the kind of girl who rolled her eyes at older men who tried flirting with her at grocery stores. She didn't have patience for creeps. But Mark wasn't a creep, not the obvious kind. He was patient, observant, calculating in a way I didn't have words for until it was too late. It started small, the way every manipulation campaign does. Emma, you've really matured this year. You're so much more thoughtful than other girls your age. Your insight is incredible. You should talk to me more. Little comments dripping with validation. Little compliments wrapped in fatherly tone. Little psychological hooks disguised as guidance. I didn't like it, but I couldn't articulate why. It sounded harmless. Normal. Responsible, even. Until I started noticing the timing. He never said those things when Mom was around. Only late at night. Only when they were alone in the kitchen or car or backyard. Emma changed too. She'd snap at me for no reason. Defend Mark in arguments he wasn't even in. Disappear into her room after long, deep talks with him. And worst of all, she stopped coming to me when something upset her. We used to be close. Older brother, younger sister. A team. But suddenly, Mark was the one she confided in. And every time I walked into a room they were in, the energy shifted. Their voices dropped. Their body language shifted. Emma flinched like I'd interrupted something fragile. My stomach twisted every time. Then one night, everything snapped. I came home early, a miracle, because my job normally keeps me late. The house was dim and quiet. I heard voices from the living room. Emma. Mark. Laughing. Soft. Warm. Too warm. I stepped closer. Emma sat on the couch, legs tucked under her, Mark sitting beside her, too close, too comfortable, arm on the backrest behind her shoulders. She was smiling in a way I hadn't seen around him before. Then he leaned in and said, in a tone no stepfather should ever use, "You don't know how hard it is not to say everything I feel about you." My entire body went cold. Emma whispered, "Mark, maybe you shouldn't." That was all I heard. Because I stepped into the room. Both of them froze. Emma went pale. Mark straightened like someone caught with his hand somewhere it absolutely shouldn't be. "What," I said, "is going on?" Silence. Emma stared at the floor. And Mark? Mark smiled. Not apologetic. Confident. Like I was the problem. "Lucas," he said smoothly, "you're misunderstanding." But I knew right then, absolutely knew, that I wasn't misunderstanding anything. I had walked into the middle of something that didn't just cross a line. It obliterated it. Mark stood up slowly, like he wanted to control the entire moment, the tone, the pace, even the oxygen. He had this maddening calm on his face, the kind men wear when they think they're smarter than everyone else in the room. "Lucas," he said, "I know what you think you heard, but Emma and I were just talking." Emma didn't say a word. She looked like she wanted to melt into the cushions and disappear. Her hands were shaking, tiny tremors she tried to hide by tucking them under her legs. Just talking? I repeated. That didn't sound like talking. Mark sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. Your sister is 18. She's an adult now. I was giving her advice. That's all. Advice. Right. Then why? I said, stepping closer. Did you sound like you were confessing feelings? Emma flinched. Mark's jaw tightened for half a second before he forced a smile back onto his face. Because, he said smoothly, Emma was opening up about feeling lonely. I was trying to reassure her that she's cared for. My stomach twisted. Because that was the problem, he was good at this. At twisting words. Reframing intentions. Making everything sound like my interpretation was the real crime. Emma, I said gently, is that true? She looked torn. Completely torn. Her eyes darted between us like she was choosing which reality to live in. I don't know, she whispered. We were just talking. I didn't want it to sound like what it was, I said. She swallowed hard. Mark stepped in front of her slightly, subtle, protective, possessive, and that alone made my skin crawl. Lucas, he said, lowering his voice, you've always been dramatic. That's fine. But don't drag Emma into your paranoia. Paranoia? I snapped. You were leaning into her, telling her you had feelings you couldn't say. That's not fatherly advice. Mark's smile dropped, the first crack in his mask. Then he switched tactics. You're jealous, he said calmly. I blinked. Excuse me? You can't handle that Emma talks to me more than she talks to you now. Emma looked horrified. Mark, don't. No, he said, holding up a hand. It's important he hears this. Lucas has always had a controlling streak. A cold shock ran through me. This man, this grown, manipulative man, was trying to rewrite the narrative, in real time. You think I'm controlling? I said. You're the one isolating her. You're the one sneaking around Mom. You're the one whispering things you shouldn't be saying. Mark's expression hardened, the pleasant mask slipping. You have no idea what you're talking about, he said. Then answer me plainly. I shot back. Do you have feelings for my sister? Emma inhaled sharply. Mark didn't blink. No. But his eyes flicked toward her, barely, and that was all I needed to see. A lie. A calculated, practiced lie. Lucas, Emma whispered, voice trembling. Please don't make this worse. My heart broke a little hearing that. Not because she was wrong, but because she genuinely believed I was about to ruin something, not realizing the thing was already ruined by him. Mark put a hand on her shoulder. Light. Gentle. Claiming. And Emma didn't pull away. That hurt more than anything. We're done here, Mark said quietly. Emma and I were having a private conversation. Respect that. No, I said. I'm not respecting something this wrong. His jaw flexed, a tiny flash of anger. Lucas, he said, if you keep pushing this, you're going to destroy your family. I stared him dead in the eyes. No, I said. You already did. That was when the front door opened. Mom walked in, grocery bags in her arms, cheerful and oblivious, until she saw the three of us frozen in a triangle of tension. She frowned. What's going on? Mark didn't miss a beat. Your son is accusing me of being inappropriate with your daughter. Emma gasped. Mark! He lifted his eyebrows sympathetically, acting wounded. I'm trying to support Emma emotionally, and Lucas is twisting it. Mom looked at me sharply. Lucas, what did you say to him? And in that moment, with my mother staring, Emma shrinking, and Mark wearing the most convincing mask I'd ever seen on a human being, I realized just how deep his manipulation ran. And how alone I suddenly was. Mom's eyes bounced between us, trying to assemble the puzzle with only the pieces Mark handed her. And Mark, like the seasoned manipulator he was, stepped forward calmly, placing a hand on her arm with this concerned husband expression that made my blood pressure spike. "Christine," he said softly, "I think Lucas misunderstood a conversation Emma and I were having." Misunderstood. Classic. Emma looked trapped, shoulders tight, eyes wide, the kind of look that says, if I speak, everything explodes. If I stay quiet, it still explodes. Mom turned to me. "Lucas, what exactly did you hear?" Mark cut in before I could breathe. He heard part of a sentence and assumed the worst. I clenched my jaw. "You told her she didn't know how hard it was to say everything you feel about her. How is that appropriate?" Emma closed her eyes like the words themselves were knives. Mom's mouth fell open. She looked at Mark. "You said that?" Mark didn't flinch. Didn't blush. Didn't stumble. He smiled. "I was talking about how proud I am of her. About how hard it is to express as a parent. Emma can be sensitive, and I didn't want to overwhelm her." The confidence. The ease. The rehearsed tone. It was like watching someone lie with muscle memory. "Mom," I said, "that's not how he meant it." He was leaning into her. Mark scoffed. "Now I was leaning? Really, Lucas?" He turned to Mom again. "This is what I mean. He twists everything." Mom looked between us, unsure. Emma finally whispered, "Mom, it wasn't like that." Mark immediately stepped closer to her, not touching, but invading. "Sweetheart, you don't have to defend yourself." Which wasn't what he meant at all. He meant, defend me. I felt the shift. Emma felt it too. But she didn't know how to untangle it. Mom exhaled shakily. "Lucas, you're making serious accusations. And he's doing serious damage." I shot back. Mark's smile faded piece by piece. "Lucas, I get that you're protective of Emma. But you need to stop projecting whatever issues you have onto our relationship. Our ** relationship. Asterisk. Not stepfather, stepdaughter. Not parent-child. Just our relationship." Mom didn't catch it. Emma did. She flinched. "Mom," I said, stepping forward, "please listen to me. This has been going on for months. He's been talking to her at weird hours. Telling her things that aren't normal. Building." Mark raised his voice for the first time, sharp and slicing. "Enough." Emma jerked. Mom's brows knitted. Mark inhaled, smoothing his tone again. "Lucas is upset because Emma trusts me with things she doesn't talk to him about." "That's not the issue," I growled. "Isn't it?" He challenged. Then he delivered the killing blow. "Lucas, when Emma told me you were struggling with jealousy." Emma's head snapped toward him. "I never said." But Mom didn't hear the rest. Her eyes widened. "Jealousy? Lucas, is that what this is about?" My stomach dropped. Mark smiled, victorious. Emma looked horrified, like she couldn't believe he threw her under the bus so effortlessly. "Mom," I said, voice cracking from frustration, "I'm not jealous. I'm trying to stop something gross from happening." Mark turned to her with a gentle, pitying tone. "Christine, I know this is a lot. But Emma is an adult now, and she confides in me. I'm just trying to help her navigate things you and Lucas might not understand." Emma whispered. "Mark, stop." But it was too late. Mom stepped back, overwhelmed. "I need a minute." She walked toward the kitchen, hand over her mouth. Emma remained frozen on the couch. Mark crossed his arms, self-satisfied. I stood there shaking with rage I couldn't express without blowing the entire situation up. And then Mark leaned toward me, so close only I could hear. "You're out of your depth." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I didn't hit him. I didn't yell. I didn't tear into him like I wanted. But my silence must have pissed him off, because he added, "And Lucas? No one will believe you. You already saw that." He straightened, plastering his fatherly smile back onto his face like a sticker over a crack. Emma watched him with wide, devastated eyes, Because she finally realized. He wasn't protecting her. He was using her. And he didn't care who he had to lie to in the process. Emma didn't move for a long moment. She just sat there on the couch, shoulders curled in, eyes fixed on the floor like she was trying to hold herself together with sheer force of will. Mark hovered near the doorway, pretending to give her space while positioning himself where he could intercept anything I said. He was good. Too good. He knew exactly how to orchestrate perception. I sank into the armchair across from Emma, not taking my eyes off Mark. "Emma," I said gently, "you can talk to me. You know you can." Mark stepped forward immediately, not touching her, but claiming the air around her. "She is talking to you. She said you misunderstood?" Emma flinched like his voice physically hurt. She wasn't defending him anymore. She wasn't defending me either. She was frozen because she realized she was stuck between two worlds. The one he built for her, and the one collapsing around them. Mom reappeared from the kitchen, face pale. She looked at each of us slowly, like a judge preparing a verdict. "All right," she said quietly. "I need the truth." Mark placed a hand over his heart in a gesture so rehearsed it made me nauseous. "Christine, I'm telling you." "Not from you," she said sharply. "From Emma." The room went dead still. Emma looked up, eyes rimmed red, wrists trembling. She swallowed hard. "Emma," Mom said, voice softening. "Has Mark said or done anything that made you uncomfortable?" Mark stepped toward her instinctively. "Honey, you don't have to answer that." Mom snapped. "Mark, sit down." It was the first time she'd ever spoken to him like that. He sat. Slowly. Angrily. I turned to Emma again. Please. Just be honest." She looked at me. Then at Mom. Then, painfully, at Mark. And Mark, sensing danger, changed tactics yet again. "Emma," he said softly, soothingly, "remember what we talked about. Your feelings. Your confusion. You don't want them to misunderstand you." Emma's breath hitched. He was reminding her of their private world. The intimacy. The bond he engineered. Mom saw it. Finally. Her eyes sharpened. "Emma," she said, "answer my question." Emma's voice shook. He didn't touch me." Mark exhaled like he'd won. Mom nodded slowly. "Okay. But Emma, did he ever say anything inappropriate?" Mark stiffened. Emma closed her eyes. Her throat bobbed. He said things that didn't feel right," she whispered. Mark's jaw locked. "Emma." Mom cut him off. "Let her speak." Emma took a trembling breath. He told me I was special. That I was more mature than girls my age. That he trusted me in ways he couldn't trust Mom. He said I was the only one who really understood him." Mom went pale. Mark's mask cracked. "Emma, that's not how I meant it." But Emma wasn't done. "The dam had broken. And he texted me late at night," she said. "A lot. About personal stuff. About how lonely he was. How he wished he'd met someone like me when he was younger." Mom gasped. I felt the air leave my chest. Mark stood abruptly. "That's taken out of context." "No," Emma said suddenly, lifting her head, tears running down her cheeks. "No, it's not out of context. You know what you were doing." Mark's face twisted. "Emma! You made me feel like I owed you something," she cried. "You made me feel guilty for not answering you. You made me feel like I was choosing sides if I talked to anyone else." The words exploded out of her, raw, panicked, honest. Mom sobbed into her hand. I stood slowly, rage simmering so hot it made my fingertips go numb. "You manipulated her," I said. "You groomed her. You emotionally seduced her." Mark snapped toward me. "I did no such thing." But Emma whispered, broken but brave. "You did. You absolutely did." Mark looked at her like she had betrayed him, like he was the victim. "Emma," he said, voice trembling with anger, "I trusted you. I opened up to you. And this is how you repay me? Mom stepped between them so fast it startled everyone. Get out, she said. Mark blinked. Christine. Get out. Her voice cracked like thunder. Mark hesitated, eyes darting between all three of us, realizing he'd lost Emma, lost control, lost the narrative. Then he tried one last manipulation. You're all making a mistake, he said quietly. You'll regret this. No, Mom whispered. The only mistake I ever made was letting you near my daughter. Mark's face twisted into something ugly, something dark and unmasked, before he grabbed his keys, stormed out the door, and slammed it hard enough to rattle the walls. The house went silent. Emma collapsed into tears. Mom wrapped her arms around her. I stood there shaking with a mixture of fury, relief, and heartbreak. Because the truth was finally out. But the fallout? That was only beginning. The silence after Mark slammed the door wasn't peaceful. It was radioactive. Emma cried into Mom's shoulder like every emotion she'd buried for months was ripping its way out all at once. Mom held her tightly, whispering apologies over and over, for not noticing sooner, for trusting the wrong man, for letting their home become a place where Emma felt cornered instead of safe. I just stood there, fists clenched, breathing like I had to remind myself how. When Emma finally pulled away, her face blotchy and red, she wiped her nose with her sleeve and whispered, I'm sorry. Mom cupped her cheeks. Sweetheart, none of this is your fault. But Emma shook her head. I let it go on. I didn't stop it. I didn't tell anyone. My chest twisted painfully. Because of course she felt responsible. That's what manipulators do. They make their victims believe they participated in their own exploitation. You didn't let anything happen, I said quietly. He engineered it. He built it brick by brick. You were just standing where he placed you. Emma's eyes filled again, but this time not with shame. With recognition. A sliver of clarity. Mom took a shaky breath. We need to talk about what happens now. Emma winced. I don't want to talk to him. You won't, Mom said firmly. He's not coming back. Not into this house, not into our lives. I walked to the door, locked it, double-checked it, then pulled the curtains shut. It wasn't paranoia. It was caution. Mom, I said, turning slowly, you need to call the police. Emma's head snapped up. No. Lucas, please don't. She was terrified. Not of Mark. Of the aftermath. The confrontation. The escalation. The shame. Mom looked torn. Absolutely shattered. Lucas, she whispered, if we report this, it becomes public. People will judge her. They'll twist it. They always twist it. Emma squeezed her eyes shut. She knew it too. But I shook my head. Reporting him isn't just about punishment. It creates a record. It prevents him from doing this to anyone else. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. I don't want anyone to know. Mom stroked her hair. We won't force you. Not tonight. I understood. She needed control back before she could handle exposure. But even if we didn't call the police, we had to do something. Mark wasn't going to disappear quietly. Men like him never do. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, Mom's phone buzzed. A text. From Mark. She looked at the screen and covered her mouth, eyes wide with disbelief. What did he say? I asked. She handed me the phone with shaking hands. The message said, Tell Emma I'm not angry. I know she's confused. I'm willing to talk this out privately. Don't let Lucas turn her against me. My blood boiled so fast I felt dizzy. Mark's next message arrived seconds later. If you force me out, I'll have to tell the truth about what's really been happening. People won't see her the way you do. He was threatening her. Threatening Mom. Threatening to twist the story into something ugly, to make Emma look complicit or predatory, to maintain control even from outside the house. Mom whispered. He's trying to scare her into silence. He's trying to manipulate the fallout. I said. He wants to control the narrative. Emma's breathing hitched, panic rising. I can't do this. I can't deal with him telling people. I knelt beside her. Emma. Listen to me. You have done nothing wrong. Not one thing. The only person who looks bad here is him. But Emma wasn't hearing reassurance. She was hearing echoes of Mark's voice. You don't understand, she whispered. He told me over and over that if people found out, they'd think I was the one who wanted it. Her voice broke. That was it. That was the hook. The collar he'd put around her neck and tightened every time she doubted herself. Mom pulled her close again. Sweetheart, no one who matters would ever believe that. He manipulated you. He isolated you. That's on him. The phone buzzed again. Another message. Let's keep this in the family. No need to involve anyone else. It will only make things worse for her. Emma shook like she'd been hit. He won't stop, I said. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not until he gets what he wants. Mom nodded, eyes hardened with something fierce and maternal. Then I'll block him. She opened the contact. Blocked. Then she turned to Emma. You don't have to face him again, she said. You're safe. I promise. But I knew deep down this wasn't over. Mark had lost control of Emma. He had lost control of the house. And men like him don't accept losing quietly. There was a storm coming. One we weren't ready for. Mark didn't stay quiet for long. Blocking him was like slamming a door on a wasp nest. The buzzing didn't stop. It just got louder somewhere else. That, somewhere else, turned out to be everyone he thought would listen. It started the next morning, when Mom's sister called in a panic. Christine, she said the moment Mom picked up. What is Mark talking about? He said there was some kind of incident with Emma and that you're all jumping to conclusions. Mom nearly dropped the phone. What did he tell you? She demanded. He said Emma's troubled. That she developed a fixation. And you're blaming him because you can't accept it. Emma went white. I nearly punched the wall. He what? I snapped loud enough that Mom's sister heard it through the receiver. Mom's voice broke. None of that is true. None of it. But the damage was already spreading. By noon, 2 more relatives had reached out. By evening, one of Mark's friends, who'd always given me weird vibes, sent Emma a Facebook message. Hey, Mark's worried about you. He said things have gotten out of hand. If you ever need to talk to a neutral adult, I'm here. A neutral adult. Coming from Mark's camp. Message transparent enough that even a child could decode it. Tell me your version so we can twist it. Emma slammed her laptop shut. I can't do this. I can't handle everyone thinking I. She couldn't finish. Mom held her. Sweetheart, they don't matter. None of them matter. But they did. Because Mark wasn't telling the truth. He was creating a story. One where he was the misunderstood father figure. And Emma was the confused, unstable young adult. It was a narrative he'd planned for months. Now he was deploying it. That night things got worse. Much worse. Mark showed up. Not at the door, oh no. That would require respecting boundaries. At the window. Emma screamed when she saw him standing outside in the dark, hands in his pockets, staring in with a look that froze my blood. I bolted to the window and yanked the curtain closed. Mom gasped. Oh my God! I ran outside before she could stop me. Mark stood in the yard, half lit by the neighbor's motion light, eyes cold and disappointed, like I had betrayed him. Lucas, he said calmly, tell your mother to unblock me. I took a step toward him. Leave. Now. He didn't move. Instead, he tilted his head slightly. I need to talk to Emma. You'll never talk to her again. His jaw tensed. She owes me a conversation. She owes you nothing. He took 2 slow steps toward me. Not threatening, purposeful. Lucas, you don't understand what she and I shared. You don't understand her the way I do. I couldn't stop it. I laughed once. A sharp, disbelieving sound. You manipulated her. You isolated her. You seduced her emotionally. That's what you shared. Mark's eyes narrowed. Careful, he said quietly. Accusations like that have consequences. Yeah, I said, stepping closer. For you. For the first time, the mask cracked, not with fear. With anger. Real, deep anger. I helped her, he hissed. I lifted her up when none of you even noticed she was drowning. She came to me. She trusted me. She needed me. The wind rustled the tree branches behind him. And you ruined it. My stomach dropped. He meant it. He genuinely believed Emma had been in a consensual, mutual emotional relationship with him, and that I had destroyed it out of jealousy or spite or some imagined control issue. You need help, I said quietly. Professional help. He shook his head. I need Emma to talk to me. You're not seeing her again. He took a breath, steadying himself. Lucas, he murmured, if you don't let me explain things to her, she's going to break. She's fragile. You don't understand that. I do. I froze. Because that wasn't just manipulation. It was a threat disguised as concern. And he saw the panic hit my face. He smiled. Tell her, he said softly, that I'll be waiting. Then he turned and walked off into the dark, disappearing down the street like a shadow that hadn't finished its business. I ran back inside. Emma was on the floor crying. Mom beside her shaking. The house felt too small, too vulnerable. And I realized something terrifying. He wasn't done with Emma emotionally. He wasn't done with us socially. He wasn't done with his story legally. Mark had been exposed. But he wasn't defeated. And people like him don't retreat. They regroup. We didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Emma stayed on the couch between Mom and me, wrapped in a blanket like it was the only thing tethering her to the ground. Every time a car passed outside, she jolted. Every time her phone buzzed, even with Mark blocked, she flinched like she expected his face to appear on the screen. Mom kept repeating, "He can't come back in. He can't hurt you. He can't talk to you anymore." Like a mantra she was trying to turn into truth through sheer repetition. I sat in the armchair facing the door, arms crossed, muscles locked. I didn't even blink. I was ready to break down the door if he so much as breathed near it. By sunrise, the house looked the same. But we didn't. Emma's hands were shaking so badly she couldn't hold her coffee. Mom kept checking and rechecking the lock. And I kept replaying the way Mark had spoken to me, calm, entitled, certain he still had access to Emma's mind. People like him don't show up at windows unless they believe they're welcome inside. Around 9 a.m., Mom finally said the words I had been waiting for. We need help. She didn't mean emotional support. She meant protection. Legal. Official. Enforceable. I'm calling the police, she said. Emma panicked instantly. No, Mom, if you call them, he'll get angry. He'll make things worse. Mom took her daughter's face in both hands. Sweetheart, he already made things worse. I nodded. This isn't about punishing him. It's about getting distance. A record. Something that forces him to stay away. Emma's breathing sped up. But he'll tell them I came onto him. He'll twist it. He already told people I was confused. Emma, I said, you did nothing wrong. He's the adult who blurred lines, not you. She didn't look convinced yet, which made my stomach twist. Manipulation does that. It rewrites your internal compass until you can't tell what's your guilt and what's someone else's fingerprints on your conscience. Still, Mom made the call. 2 officers came within 20 minutes. A woman and a man, calm, neutral, but observant. They asked to speak somewhere private, so we sat in the living room. Emma sat between us like she needed 2 physical witnesses just to breathe normally. The female officer spoke gently. Emma, did Mark ever threaten you or make you feel unsafe? Emma swallowed. Not at first. But last night, He came to the window. Both officers stiffened. The male one asked, "Has he ever shown up uninvited before?" "No," I said. "But he's been manipulating her for months. Emotionally. Privately. He made her dependent on him." Emma's voice broke. "He told me I was special. He told me he couldn't say everything he felt. And he said if people found out, they'd blame me." The female officer's expression darkened. "That is classic coercive control." Mom gasped softly. "That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure." "It is," the officer confirmed. "It's serious." The male officer wrote notes quickly. "We can file a report. And you can request a protective order." Emma looked terrified again. "If we do that, he'll ruin me. He already started telling people I'm unstable." The female officer leaned forward. "Emma, people like Mark rely on silence to keep control. Speaking up takes that power away." Emma's eyes filled. "I don't feel strong enough." "You don't have to be," the officer said. "That's why we're here." For the first time, Emma's shoulders sank, not from defeat, but from release. The kind that comes when someone finally says, "You are not imagining this." We completed the report. The officers promised to contact Mark and warn him to stay away. They said if he violated that warning, they could escalate it. When they left, Emma collapsed into Mom's arms. But the quiet didn't last long. Because as soon as they walked out the door, my phone rang. An unknown number. I stepped outside and answered. The voice on the other end froze my blood. "Mark." "Lucas," he said quietly. "You made a mistake." I shut the door behind me, jaw clenching. "You need to stop contacting us." He ignored that. "You think the police scare me? You think a report changes anything between her and me?" A sickening shiver ran down my spine. "There is no between you and her," I said. "It's over." Mark chuckled, soft, disappointed, almost pitying. "You don't get it," he said. "Emma and I have a connection you will never understand. She needs me." "She said so?" "No," I snapped. "She said you manipulated her? And she's not talking to you anymore." A pause. Silence deep enough to feel cold. Then Mark said, "She will." You can't cut someone out of your life when they're the only one who ever really saw you. My jaw tightened. "Don't come near her again. Don't come near this house." Mark exhaled. "You always thought you were protecting her. But you're the one who's hurting her right now." Then he added, and this part chilled me to my bones, "You have no idea how far I'll go to fix this." The line went dead. I lowered the phone slowly, staring at the yard where he'd stood the night before. Mom opened the door, panicked. "Lucas? What did he say?" I swallowed. "He's not backing off." Emma stepped behind her, hugging herself, fear etched into every part of her posture. "What does that mean?" she whispered. I took a breath. Mark's threat hung in the air long after the call ended, a cold, invisible weight that pressed against the walls of the house like pressure building before a storm. When I walked back inside, Emma was sitting on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, watching me like my expression alone could tell her whether she was safe. Mom hovered behind her, wringing her hands, her eyes brimming with a mother's guilt, the kind that doesn't fade, even when it isn't deserved. "What did he say?" Emma whispered. I sat across from her, leaning forward. "He's not giving up." Mom closed her eyes like the words physically hurt. Emma shook her head, panic rising again. "He's obsessed. Lucas, he won't stop unless something forces him to. You don't understand how he is when he—" "I do," I said gently. "I understand perfectly now. Mark didn't want love. He didn't want closure. He didn't want understanding. He wanted control. Even after being exposed, even after losing the house, even with police involved, he still believed he owned a part of Emma's mind. And in his twisted worldview, I was the one who'd taken her away." Mom sat beside Emma. "We have the report. The officers said they talked to him. Maybe this will scare him off." Even she didn't sound convinced. And we were right not to be. Because Mark had already started a second campaign. Not emotional. Not romantic. Not subtle. This one was public. Just before noon, Mom's phone buzzed with a message from her coworker. Christine. I'm confused. Mark posted something about Emma on Facebook. Are you guys okay? My stomach dropped. Mom opened Facebook and gasped. There it was, a long, self-pitying post written like a diary entry from a wounded saint. Sometimes you give your heart to a family that never appreciates you. Sometimes a stepfather tries to guide a troubled teenager, and it gets twisted into lies. I'll always care for Emma, even if she's confused right now. Please pray for her. Pray for her. He painted her as unstable. Confused. Needing his guidance. The comments were already rolling in. You're a good man, Mark. Teenagers act out. Don't give up on her. Stay strong. Emma will come around. Emma slapped a hand over her mouth. Oh my God, he's making it look like I did something wrong. Mom grabbed her hand. Sweetheart, he's trying to control the narrative. I grabbed my phone. I'll shut it down. But the problem was clear. Mark didn't need truth. He needed an audience. And social media gave him one. Within an hour, he posted again, this time a vague message paired with a picture of the backyard swing where I'd first confronted him. This was where she opened up to me the most. I hope someday she remembers what we had. My vision blurred with anger. Emma let out a sound I never heard from her, half sob, half gasp, like the air had been punched out of her. He's making it look like I was involved, she whispered. Like I reciprocated. That's because he can't handle the truth, I said. He can't accept that what he did was wrong. Mom stood abruptly. I'm calling the police again. But before she could dial, there was a knock at the door. A slow, deliberate knock. Emma froze. Mom's hand shook so badly the phone nearly fell. I stood up, heart pounding. Another knock, louder this time. Lucas, Emma whispered. Don't open it. But I did, carefully, cautiously, only to find two officers standing there. Same pair as before. My chest dropped. Had Mark already escalated? Had he told them another lie? The male officer cleared his throat. We need to talk. All of you. Mom ushered them inside immediately, panic etching her features. Emma curled into herself, trembling. I braced for bad news, some twist, some accusation. But instead, the female officer spoke gently, looking directly at Emma. Mark contacted us this morning. Emma stiffened. He claimed, the officer continued slowly, that you were the one emotionally manipulating him. That you became attached, that he tried to create distance, and that now you're retaliating. Emma's face crumpled. What? No, that's not what happened. We know, the officer said calmly. His story contradicts itself. But given his escalating behavior, and the fact that he's now involving outside observers, we need to take additional action. Mom swallowed hard. What kind of action? The male officer stepped forward. We strongly recommend filing for an emergency protective order. Today. Right now. Emma covered her face. I don't want a court hearing. I don't want people looking at me like. Honey, Mom whispered, you have nothing to be ashamed of. And, the officer added, leveling with her gently, if you don't do it, he will continue twisting the narrative. He may even try to escalate legally. This protects you. Emma's shoulders shook. Lucas, she whispered, I'm scared. I knelt beside her. I know. But we're not letting him write your story for you anymore. The officer handed Mom a packet. We'll escort you to the courthouse if you want. With what he's already done, the judge will likely grant the emergency order today. Mom nodded, determined. Emma looked at me like a child lost in a storm. Will it stop him? She whispered. I didn't lie. It'll give us leverage, I said. It'll give us distance. And it'll give us something he can't twist. I paused. And after today, he won't be able to contact you without consequences. Emma wiped her tears. Okay, she whispered. Let's do it. But as we gathered ourselves to leave, the female officer's radio crackled. She raised it to her ear, and her face changed instantly. Concern. Alarm. Urgency. She turned to us. That was dispatch, she said. Mark just showed up at your mother's workplace looking for his family. He caused a scene. They've already called us. Mom gasped. Emma went sheet white. I felt something inside me snap into place, not panic this time. Wariness. Resolve. He's escalating, I said quietly. The officer nodded grimly. And he's not going to stop. Mom stepped between Emma and Mark's mother with a steadiness I hadn't seen in her since this nightmare started. He did, she said, voice sharp but controlled. He did all of it. And you need to stop pretending your son is incapable of harm just because you raised him. Mark's mother opened her mouth, ready to argue, but the courtroom door swung open. Emma Walker? The bailiff called. My sister flinched. Mom grabbed her hand. I stepped to her other side. Together, we entered the courtroom. The hearing. The judge was a middle-aged woman with a gaze sharp enough to cut steel. She looked at the paperwork, flipped through the notes from the responding officers, then looked up at Emma. Miss Walker, she said gently, do you feel unsafe around Mark Stone? Emma's throat bobbed. Yes. Has he attempted to contact you after being told not to? Yes. Has he shown up uninvited? A shaky nod. Yes. Do you believe he may escalate if you do not have legal protection? Emma looked at me, searching, anchoring, and then back at the judge. Absolutely. The judge nodded once, decisively. Order granted. Mom cried in relief. I exhaled for the first time in hours. Emma sagged forward like something heavy had rolled off her spine. But before we could even leave the courtroom, the judge added, I am also issuing a temporary no-contact order for the entire household. If Mr. Stone attempts any communication with any of you, directly or indirectly, call the police immediately. We thanked her. Emma whispered, Thank you, so softly it sounded like a prayer. The confrontation we didn't expect. When we stepped back into the hallway, Mark's mother was still there. But something in her expression had shifted. She wasn't glaring anymore. She looked shaken. Broken even. Emma, she whispered. My son said you were manipulating him. Emma shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. I didn't. I swear I didn't. Mark's mother looked at Mom. He said he was protecting her. Mom's voice cracked. He was grooming her. The older woman covered her mouth. He said he loved her. The sentence hit the hallway like a punch to the chest. She didn't defend him this time. She didn't accuse us. She just stood there, finally seeing the truth she had been desperately trying to hide from herself. I don't know who he's become, she whispered. Neither did we. But now a court order stood between him and my sister. And that mattered. What happened to Mark? Within hours, the police found him in the parking lot of Mom's workplace, still pacing, still ranting about needing to fix things, and talk to Emma alone. They served him the protective order on the spot. When he tried to argue, they warned him once. When he raised his voice, they warned him twice. When he took a single step toward the building, they arrested him. He didn't resist. He didn't fight. He just kept saying the same sentence over and over. She needs me. She needs me. She needs me. But the court system disagreed. He was charged with harassment, trespassing, and violating preliminary instructions from law enforcement, enough to keep him away long enough for us to breathe again. Later we found out he'd been unraveling for months, depressed, resentful, isolating himself emotionally until Emma became his entire universe. His fixation wasn't love. It was dependency. And dependency is a hungry thing. Emma's healing. It didn't happen overnight. The first week, she barely slept. The second, she couldn't go outside alone. Sometimes she cried out of nowhere, shaking like the fear was still lodged inside her bones. But slowly, painfully, she began to reclaim herself. Therapy helped. Mom helped. I helped where she let me. She began painting again, something she gave up months earlier when Mark started invading her emotional space. She deleted his messages. She blocked his friends. She stopped blaming herself. Most importantly, she began saying this sentence out loud, over and over, until she believed it. He manipulated me. I didn't ask for this. Every time she said it, the hold he had over her cracked a little more. And eventually, it broke entirely. Where we stand now. The order is permanent. Mark cannot come near us. He cannot contact Emma. He cannot contact Mom. He cannot contact me. His social circle shrank quickly after his arrest. People learned the truth. Some pretended they never defended him. Others apologized. But Emma doesn't care. She's done living in the shadow of someone else's lies. She told me something a few weeks ago, sitting on the porch with a warm blanket around her shoulders. I thought he understood me. But he understood my vulnerabilities, not me. I nodded. That's how people like him work. She leaned against me. I'm glad you walked into that room that night. I swallowed hard. I'll always walk in. And I will. Every time. Because Emma might have been targeted. But she wasn't weak. She was manipulated by someone who mistook vulnerability for invitation. And once she understood that, he lost every bit of power he ever thought he had. Our family isn't perfect now. But we're healing. And Mark? He is no longer part of our story. Not as a father. Not as a figure. Not as a shadow. Just a warning sign we'll never ignore again.